Magandang tanghali. Ako po si Trixie Cruz-Angeles. Ito po ang LUMINOUS. Pakisabi na lang po kung meron tayong audio. We will adjust accordingly. Kami na po mag-a-adjust. So magandang umaga. Kanina, well, we were posting matters like energy kasi worried ako na baka abutin tayo. Tataas po kasi yung kuryente, yung presyo ng kuryente natin at baka hindi po tayo handa. So kahit a month ago, nire-raise na namin yung idea, even in fact when I was still with government, pinaghahandaan po ang information campaign na um, pertaining dun sa pagtataas po ng presyo ng kuryente. Now, some of the factors cannot be helped. Halimbawa, yung pagtataas po ng presyo ng crudo, presyo ng coal, and so on, yung mga input prices ng pag-generate ng energy, tumataas po. So that cannot be helped. On the other hand, there are certain factors also, halimbawa, yung nangyari dun sa SMC, na humingi po sila ng extension doon sa kanilang uh, power supply agreement, magpo-provide ng kuryente sa Meralco. They asked for an extension doon sa kanilang kontrata so that they can continue providing with a slight increase para ma-offset yung presyo ng yung input prices nila. Hindi po pinayagan ng ERC to, and so SMC ended its contract. Dahil hindi makakakuha ang Meralco sa through bidding ng ibang power service providers, given the restrictions of the original agreement, kukuha sila ngayon sa spot market. At nag-offer na po ang Aboitiz on the spot market ng presyo na siguradong tataas na higher than what SMC was proposing to have, to provide for Meralco. So there are some factors that lead to the increase, although in general, yung increases are caused by the increase in the input prices, particularly dun sa pagmahal ng crudo. Nagmamahal ang crudo, nagmamahal ang coal all over. That we expect na tataas ang kuryente natin, ang presyo ng kuryente. No matter what, tataas siya. Ang tanong na lang is, if government can control those factors para hindi gaanong tumaas ang kuryente. So it's neither fair to say that, there's, yes ma'am? Okay na tayo? Sige po. Thank you ma'am. Naghihintay po kasi kami ng check-in. Andito po kami sa Davao. Okay. So, yun po. What government does is try to mitigate as best. Kumbaga, hindi masyadong masakit para sa taong bayan yung pagtaas ng mga input prices. Dapat kinokontrol what factors can be controlled dun sa pagtataas ng presyo ng kuryente. At tama po yung isang nagkomento dun sa page natin na mahalaga din po yung pass-through na rate. Kasi dun sa EPIRA law, ina-allow yung pass-through rate at ibig sabihin, kahit anong, yung pagka nag-increase yung input prices or yung exchange rate and so on, dun sa power service providers, then hindi po i-regulate yung corresponding increase nila ng presyo pag in-offer nila to dun sa mga distributors. So, yun po ang binabalanse dapat. So, when we call out to government at may mga nagre-reklamo mataas ang presyo ng kuryente, babalansihin din po natin. One, tataas talaga yan kasi nga tumaas ang presyo ng crudo. Pero pangalawa, sana minimitigate o kinokontrol ng gobyerno yung mga factors that lead to the unnecessary increase in prices dahil lumalakad, pinapasa ng mga power service providers or power providers yung mga increases ng lahat ng input prices doon sa customer. Okay? So tayo yun. So a more balanced view is that yes, prices of electricity, it cannot be helped. Tataas po talaga. Pero, sana, mamitigate ng gobyerno yung mga unnecessary increases. So, syempre, mag-increase yan dahil doon nga sa presyo ng crudo, pero Sana hindi na siya mag-increase gawa ng pag-pass on ng mga power service providers ng kung ano-anong costs doon sa ating sa ating mga consumers. Hindi po kasalanan ni BBM yan. Let's not make it political. Let's put credit or blame where credit or blame is due. So, tama, kailangan repasuhin yung EPIRA law. Tama, kailangan questionin kung ano yung mga desisyon ng Energy Regulatory Board. At pero tama rin na intindihin natin na no matter what, tataas talaga ang presyo ng kuryente. So what do we do in the meantime? Number one, we call out the agencies that are not fulfilling the President's vision na i-mitigate yung alam natin tataas ang presyo ng kuryente, huwag nyo naman karirin, di ba? Huwag nyo naman pahirapan pa further ang taong bayan. That is it. So yun po yan. Tsaka let's not make it too political. Let's look at what actual factors there are dun sa pagtataas ng presyo ng kuryente. Baka unnecessary kasi yung ibang noise na ginagawa natin. Sasabihin, wala kasing ginagawa ang administrasyon ng presidente and so on. So, hindi po, it's a matter of balancing. It's a balancing act all the time. Pagka gumagawa tayo ng mga polisiya sa gobyerno, ika nga sa atin si Central Bank Governor Medalla was explaining to me before kasi nagtatanong ako, how do we explain this to the people? Sabi niya, when government makes policies, it's always a matter of balancing. So, minsan, we have to protect one sector, it might come at the expense of another. So, kung kunwari, yung sinasabi niya, nag-i-import tayo para bumaba ang presyo ng mga bilihin, syempre, ang mga maaapektuhan yan ay yung mga local producers. So, yung na lang, ang tinitignan na lang natin is, are there any other factors that the government might have overlooked? So, dun sa sa agriculture naman, di ba, tinitignan natin, sige, nagpapa-import si Presidente, ituloy yung importation ng certain targeted agricultural goods, binabaan ang taripa nito. Number one, necessary ba for certain goods like pork? Meron ba, how is it going to affect us? And so on. So, binabalanse natin yung pag-protect natin sa mga local producers at yung pag-protect din natin sa mga consumers doon sa medyo shocking na pag-i-increase ng presyo. Now, ano pa yung hindi natin nakikita in this entire balancing act? Yung traders, yung pag-hoard nila, nag-import na tayo para bumaba ang presyo, hindi naman po bumababa, which means there's something wrong with the formula. It means somebody is tampering with the prices. Sabi ni Accurate News Channel, bakit hanggang ngayon hindi pa na-review ang EPIRA law? Well, that is the discretion of Congress. So I think if the President includes it in his legislative program, dun sa kanyang legislative agenda, then may Congress will have something to go on with. Okay? Sabi ni Francis, yes, balance. Minsan hindi popular in decision, but necessary. That is correct. And sometimes we protect. Pero ganito yun, policies should be subject to constant monitoring. Ibig sabihin, parati natin mamanmanan kung tumatalab ba. So itong halimbawa, importation policy. Tumatalab ba ito? Bumababa ba ang presyo? Ang claim ng mga iba sa industriya is, dahil sa importation, at least hindi daw tumaas ang presyo ng pagkain. But no, that's not what they promised. They promised na bababa. So, and in fact, in some instances, tumataas pa rin despite the importation. So ang tanong, is the policy working? I think that the policy is sound, but there are other factors na hindi napapagtuunan ng pansin, such as, but not limited to, yung hoarders and smugglers. And Senator Amy was the one who called that out. So in the discussion of all of these things, whether it is electricity or agriculture, ang hinahanap natin dito is a balance. We cannot provide too much for one sector at the expense of another sector. So, balance tayo dyan. Gayon din po tayo. So, napansin ko lang kasi doon sa ating newsfeed, Every time meron tayong tatalakayin na issue of public importance, biglang may magsasabing, dapat ang gobyerno ganito ang gawin. Dapat libre tayo sa ganito. Dapat tax-free yung ganito natin. Dapat binibigyan tayo ng ganito. Well, balancing act yan, di ba? Sure, we can ask government to provide all of these things for us, pero it will always come at a cost. At yung cost na yan ay ang pagtataas ng ating taxes. So, tanungin natin sarili natin, for everything that we ask, are we prepared that the government will offset it by raising taxes or raising revenue in another way? And some of those revenue raising methods are very unpopular or sometimes unpopular, such as but not limited to the raising of taxes and the Maharlika Fund. So decide tayo. Decide, di ba? If you want government to provide all of these things, be prepared to pay for it one way or another. It will not come from nowhere. Kumbaga, hindi bottomless pit ang gobyerno natin. May pinanggagalingan lahat ng hinihingi natin. And we need to understand that the government has to have revenue generating power in order to give us what we need. Hindi nga want need. And if you want more benefits, then we will always have to consider that it's going to come from somewhere. So kung aangal tayo, we want benefits, but you don't want the expenses or the risks that are attached to government raising revenue, then we'll have to mitigate what we want. Diba? So, ang dalas niyan most of the time people say, dapat bigay ganito, dapat libre ito, dapat libre yan. And sometimes, because the request is so popular, government gives in. Ang problema, if there isn't enough revenue, kung kukunti lang talaga ang pera natin, nagiging lip service. O nagiging, sige, binibigay nga nila sa atin, pero ang quality napakababa. Halimbawa, demand tayo, libreng edukasyon. Is education up to standards? Are we competing with the best of the world? Diba, hindi pa. Pero libre yan. Libre ang public education. So in order for us to be able to comply with the standard, with international standards, so that our people are getting the kind of education we deserve, we must be prepared to pay for it. Sabi ni Francis, ngayon ko na-realize, imagine Maharlika Fund ang nagpatayo ng mga toll roads. Sabi ni Accurate News Channel, since sinabi ni PBBM na ang presyo ng bigas ay magiging 25 bawat kilo, is this realistic? Wait, actually what he said was 20 pesos per kilo farm gate prices. But this is a goal. Hindi niya sinabi it's gonna happen. What he's saying is this is what we're going to aim for. Ibig sabihin, ito yung goal natin. Ano ngayon ang mga polisiya na kailangan natin ilagay na makamit natin yan? Is it realistic? Well, it will depend. Sa ngayon, nakikita natin, mataas ang presyo ng fuel, which means tumataas ang presyo ng transport costs, and transport costs will be passed on to everything else. So sa lahat ng negosyo, may transport costs yan. So, kaya ba natin? Well, I tingin ko, it remains a goal, but it is not unreachable. So, paano niya ginawa? Doon sa Kadiwa, makakabenta sila na at 25 pesos per kilo because NFA ang bibili, which is its mandate. NFA ang bibili dun sa mga farmer, they eliminate the middleman, hindi sila maglalagay ng tubo. I-absorb ng NFA yung loss or yung cost ng transportation and so on. Ipapasa ngayon nila sa consumer yung mismong presyo ng pagbibili nila o konting-konti, maliit na markup, and therefore government operates at a loss. Ngayon, naaalala ninyo, panahon ni Duterte, ang NFA administrator si Jason Aquino. Tinanong ng Kongreso sa kanya, bakit kayo bumibili ng mura at binibenta nyo din ng mura? Bakit kayo palugi? Alam natin ngayon that was a political question. Meaning, alam naman nila na ang government talagang nag-absorb ng loss for the better good. So, kung ang target natin bigyan ng mga consumers ng mas mababang presyo ng bigas, then it comes at the cost of government. Government will operate at a loss para ma-deliver sa ating mga consumers yung mababang halaga ng presyo ng bigas. Is it doable? I think it's doable. Pero there's certain factors that we still need to control. Sabi ni Manas, I agree with you. The legislative department must regulate the executive policies to keep balance. Uh, Check and balance yan. Also out. The three branches of government, they're all equal, they're co-equal, and they can check on each other. So, minsan, it is the executive naman that checks on the excesses, if any, of the legislature. So, ganun lang po yan. Sabi ni Sir Francis, ay, may kausap pala. Okay. Sabi ni Francis, ay oo nga pala, pinaalala niyo yung calendar. By the way, ang intention ko, dumating dito at mag-distribute ng katakot-takot na kalendaryo only to find out na ubusan na po kami ng kalendaryo dahil sa taas ng demand. Ang dami rin pong pumunta sa studio at nakakuha po sila na ng kalendaryo nila. So, we ordered another printing. So, pagbalik namin dito sa Davao, we will be bringing more calendars. Pupunta din kami in other areas such as, but not limited to, may studio kami kasi sa Pangasinan, maghahatid kami in January ng mga kalendaryo doon. Siguro on our way to Baguio and to other places. So as much as possible, ikot kami with calendars in the month of January. Yung mga kakayanin ko lang ha, medyo iba-budget natin yan. Pero sa January, sometime I think on the 7th, we will be going back here to Baguio. Dala na namin yung mas maraming kalendaryo. Yung ibang kalendaryo kasi wala yung mukha ko eh. So, nagpa-run ng ng another printing ang studio just because you requested it para mas marami tayong madidistribute na kalendaryo. Sabi ni Florence, sorry for your UP Marons. But the good news is you can have all the Davao chocolates you want. Sanay po kami. Hindi kami na-heartbroken. Hindi umiiyak po ang mga taga-UP pag natatalo kami sa basketball. 'Di ba? Sanay nga kaming number 8 kami. So pag nakakaabot kami ng finals, masaya na po kami yan. We'll see you Ateneo next year. Sabi ni Alan, kung matuto lang makontento ang DA at NFA, walang imposible maabot ang target ng gobyerno. Hindi lang naman po sila. Opo, lahat po ng gustong pumunta Pasensya na, naku. Am I back? Oh, hi, I'm back. Hindi ko pa nakikita po, I'm back. Alright, hindi ko pa kasi nakikita. Please let me know if you can see and hear me. Okay, pakilagay na lang po sa comment section kasi hindi ko pa po nakikita yung sarili ko dito sa ano, am I back? Eh, wala pa po eh. Waiting. Okay. So, since hindi ko nakikita, I have no feedback doon sa ano kung nakikita ninyo ako. Okay na, okay na. O sige, hindi ko kasi nakikita eh. So, medyo mabagal yung ano, internet dito. Alright. So, ano yung ano natin? Ano yung gist ng usapan natin dito? Well, sinasabi ni JFK noon is that um, ask not what you can do for your country, but ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Sa atin naman, hindi. Tama naman din na nagdidemand tayo ng serbisyo sa ating sa ating gobyerno. Mahalaga po 'yon kasi nga nagbabayad tayo ng buwis. Pero dapat binabalanse din po natin, 'di ba? Everything is balance, everything is harmony. So, pagka meron tayong hinihingi sa gobyerno, tatandaan natin na may kaakibat yan na panggagalingan. Pagdagdag serbisyo, yung hindi pa napo-provide, then asahan natin na mayroong, one way or another, government will have to raise the revenue for that. So, minsan nasasabihan tayo ng ating mga government officials na wala po pa, we will do our best pero wala pa po tayong pera for that. So what we usually do is we wait. So minsan gagawin ng legislature, gagawin na nila yung batas, pero at the same time, habang pinag-uusapan yon, titignan nila kung saan, ano ang panggagalingan na pondo ng serbisyo na yon. That is why it is important. So one of two things, popular hindi popular ang pagtataas ng buwis. 'Di ba kasi ramdam na ramdam natin 'yan eh. But alternative means of providing revenue for government so that there are more services for us is something that the government should also continuously be doing. Now, iba-iba po. Yung Maharlika Fund is just the biggest of its kind. Pero marami na po tayong mga pre-existing funds that are similar to that. So like insurance and like banks, they gather the money and they invest it somewhere, kumikita, and then they distribute it among those who have contributed to that fund. Plus, yung kumbaga, yung reasonable return, dinidistribute yan, and then yung the rest of that, the income, will now be plowed back into government or into government projects na kumikita din. So, yan yung natin. We have to fill that up. But remember that government doesn't just keep giving us things. You ask for it and they'll give it. Hindi po, may pinanggagalingan yan. So, yun po yung mahalaga. Tatandaan po natin na may kaakibat na obligasyon on our part. For every service that we demand, then there is something else that will happen. Government will have to get it or take it from somewhere else. So, makikita sa Davao. Well, mamaya pupunta po kami sa House of Hope. And then after that, hindi ko pa po alam yung schedule. We'll post kung saan po tayo pwede mag-meet and greet. Pero this afternoon, it's sa House of Hope po muna kami because this is part of the charity work that we helped with former President Duterte. Ito sabi ni Eldon, sana po umabot hanggang sa kaldero ng bawat pobreng Pilipino ang bawat plano ng pamunuan nasyonal. Salamat po. Tama naman na i-expect natin yun. Di ba? Siyempre kasi pinanggagalingan yan kahit paano ay sa taong bayan. At ang existence ng gobyerno ay para sa kapakanan ng taong bayan. So it is right that we demand services, but we also have to do a reality check. Lahat ng hihingin natin may panggagalingan yan. Hindi yung ano, so nakikita natin halimbawa may mga government officials who tuwan-tuwa tayo kasi bigay sila ng bigay sa atin. But remember, yung pagbibigay na yan ay may pinanggagalingan. So, pagka meron silang binigay sa atin, whether it is in the form of ayuda, less taxes, more services, more roads, more bridges, and so on, binabayaran po natin lahat yan. Okay? Sabi ni Samuel, Philippines is not a welfare state. Totoo yan. It's not yet one, but we want it to be kind of a welfare state. Okay. Okay. Good day sa iba. Okay, kasi medyo mahina dito yung ano, ang gamit ko dito kasi sa phone na to smart medyo mahina dito. So this afternoon magla-live po ulit